Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to welcome Brad Bellinger. Brad's the chairman of the Australian Beef Association, and he's going to talk about beef imports and the MLA structure. Thanks, Brad.
Thank you very much, John, and thank you very much for the organising committee. Today, a beautiful venue that just shows what the beef industry can build with this venue here today. Now, what I want to talk about is I've been asked to temper my address today for the purposes of the meeting, being conciliatory, and I'll remain in good faith of those parameters I'm speaking under. So I'll just... So that quickly, the ABA goals, which I won't go into too much about the ABA. We've got a desk up the back. We've got Sally Black here, Linda Hewitt and Andy Ray, our directors. Please speak to them in more detail about the issues I bring up. But that's a brief of them. Yeah, it's hard to see. So we want to lift in the producer's share of the Australian consumer dollar from 26% towards the rest of the world's 40%. We want to stop the importation of beef from BSE affected countries. We don't want it delayed. We want it stopped permanently, full stop, that's it. A real cattle price based on a 2,000-year base published weekly in rural press. Make MLA accountable to levy payers, at the moment they're not. And a full independent audit of Australia's beef industry. Now this is what I've been asked to explain today. This is what they call the red meat industry structure. And you can't see it, can you? Because of the dots on the back there. But basically, this structure was set up in 1998 when we had a change of government. So we had a statutory government marketing authority, and the MLA was formed, which is a company limited by guarantee. So it performs like a company, but it is financed through your levies and through government tax funds. So it is a bastardised structure of a statutory government marketing authority and a company limited by guarantee. So, look, it's a bit difficult with this screen, but what you've got, we've got these handouts that please grab one, and it is a description of the meat industry structure. Please take it home, read it and study it, because it's important you know how this structure works and how it is crippling your livelihoods. So up the top you have cattle producers, sheep producers, lot feeders, live exporters, domestic wholesalers, domestic processors, export processors and traders. Now they are the people in the industry. At the centre, and they all feed down, cattle producers, sheep producers and lot feeders, live exporters. That is the half we deal with as cattle producers and sheep producers. The other side are the export processors and traders. Now, we pay levies into the MLA. So when it started off in 1998, we paid $27 million in levies. Last year was $59 million in levies. That's cattle producers. Lot feeders paid an additional $7.2 million. So they keep wanting more of our money, and our cattle price is going down, their wages are increasing, and supermarket profits are going up. So without going into too much detail, I was hoping this screen would be clearer, so I can't really give an accurate description, but in the centre of this structure lies a body called RMAC, okay? So this gives an overview of how the meat industry structure was changed. So RMAC, you have the Live Exporter Council, Lot Feeders, Australian Meat Industry Council, Cattle Council of Australia and Sheep Meat Council. So they're the 5 peak councils. So when the meat industry structure was changed, there were $40 million left over in the old AMLC kitty. So that's your money. That was put into a fund called the Levy Reserve Fund. And these bodies, the 5 peak councils, are financed from that fund. So every year they receive a dividend from that fund. So RMAC and the MLA, when you read in the press and you hear ministers talking, they refer to that as the industry. So as I mentioned, RMAC are funded through the Levy Reserve Fund, originally $40 million in 1998. It's meant to retain its value in real terms. 40 million at 3% compound interest over 12 years should be 57 million. From June 07 to June 09, it has lost 13.6 million. It now stands at 38 million, so they're losing money. Australian Meat Processing Council, which you'll hear later on, has lost 4.2 million in fraud misappropriation. So every 5 years, RMAC puts forward a meat industry strategic plan. So the first one considered the grading system, and you got MSA. The second one was traceability. They gave us NLIS. The third one, which is a real worry, so this is why it's so important that we do something construction at this point of time. The third one is RMAC are delivering, it promised that deliver to the Minister a meat industry strategic plan which concentrates on environment and ethics. So they say to promote the ethical and responsible custodianship of the environment, animal welfare and resource used in the production of red meat. So the first evidence we've picked up of that is in the LPA environmental modules. I had a document leaked to me about 3 months ago. It is frightening what it says in it. So this is through the LPA. You know, that's the supposedly voluntary NVD which processors and the industry force you to sign off when you see your cattle, or they won't buy your cattle. So the MLA money exchange. Last year the MLA received from transaction levies $98 million and $31 million in R&D matching grants, plus another other income of $30,935,000. So from a total revenue of $160,446,000, you, the ordinary levy payer, who is not a member of state farming organisations or the RMAC structure, and are probably one of the 190,000 levy payers who did not participate or have any say in the company's activities. So who controls the MLA? So the MLA is controlled by RMAC and the peak councils who set policy for it. The RMAC also advised the government on meat industry policy as well. And for the first time, the ABA had its biggest win because we reversed the government's decision on BSC imports. RMAC wanted it to come in, the ABA said no, and thanks to one of the previous speakers, Bill Heffernan, who insisted the ABA appear in 3 Senate inquiries, we have at least delayed it. So they're losing their grip. So you have a voting structure which is based on the amount of cattle you sell. So every time you sell a beast, you pay a $5 levy, I call it a $5 tax, to the MLA. So you get about $4 of that goes into the MLA, about $4.20 goes in the MLA, so you get about a bit over 4 votes for every cow you sell. So I'll give you an example of what happened in 2009 at the MLA Darwin MLA AGM. So 5,085 levy payers obtain and use their full voting entitlements. Of 41, if 41, so that's only 5,085 out of potential 200,000 people who sell cattle in Australia. So if 41 of the top levy payers voted for the levy increase, it would have attained the necessary 50% to get it passed. I'm not saying all of the 41 top levies did vote for the levy increase, but I know most of them did. So the Minister, Tony Burke, increased the levy by 40% based on a participation rate of 2.6% of all cattle producers who pay the beef tax. So if Australia, so remember, the MLA, the levy is a tax, you can't get out of paying it, and we've had clarification from one previous Minister, Peter McGorran, that it is a tax. So if the Australian taxation system was based on votes as per the amount of tax you paid, then the person who pays the most tax would end up being a cabinet minister or running the government, wouldn't he? Is it by some strange coincidence that under this system, based on the amount of power you have by the amount of tax you pay, that the biggest levy payer, JBS Swifts, now has a representative on the MLA board? It's perfect for them. So, I won't, please read this form. I won't go into the structure anymore, but I want to basically give you an insight into what the ABA has been trying to achieve with breaking down the industry structure, and it has to be broken down. The last 2 years, the debt in the Queensland cattle industry has increased by $2.18 billion, 36% in 2 years. The ABA call this a disaster. AgForce say it's encouraging. So we've had an enormous amount of correspondence between the government and the ABA over the last 6 years I've been involved, and certainly previous to that. So this is a brief of Tony